This is the story of an extraordinary organization founded by an extraordinary person with a vision of an empowered and equitable society where poverty does not exist. It is a story about commitment and energy, about innovation and change. The story of Berendina, Sri Lanka begins in the village of Lower Garaguda in Yatiyanthoda, 75 kilometers from the capital Colombo. In 1982, when Mrs. Berendina Borst from the Netherlands first visited Sri Lanka, most of the people in the village lived below the poverty line. This was also the village of Mrs. Eva Mudalige, a remarkable teacher of English committed to social service. Mrs. Borst met Mrs. Mudalige and they soon became close friends and partners in an endeavour to help the poor of Garaguda.
ඇත්තම බොස් මෙතනිය තවම මිනිස්සුන් හිතවල ජීවත් වෙනවා. ඉස්සෙල්ලාම අපි කරපු ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එක තමයි සෑම නිවසටම ජල මුද්‍රිත වැසිකිලි ලබා දෙන එක. ඉතින් පළවෙනි පියවර වැසිකිලි 25ක් මිනිස්සුන්ට අපි බෙරන්ඩිනා බොස් මෙතනියගේ උපකාරයෙන් ඊව මුදලිගේ මෙතනිය මේ ප්‍රදේශයට ලබා දුන්නා. ඊට පස්සේ තමයි මේ ගමේ පෙරළිය ටිකෙන් ටික ඇති වෙන්න පටන් ගත්තා.
In 1987, the year that she passed away, Mrs. Borst created a trust named Berendina Stichting to continue the work she had begun in Sri Lanka. The first office of the Berendina Foundation was set up in Garaguda in 1992. In 2005, Berendina Development Services, now familiarly known as BDS, was formed, followed in 2007 by Berendina Microfinance Institute, or BMI.
In 1992, Berendina Foundation, as it was called then, started with 1 million rupees in Yatiyanthoda. Now we have about 170 staff. We are working in, it is now 4 districts, Nurelia, Kigal, Anuradhapura, or Central, and in Trincomalee. So many good results. Of course, I realize it has not been easy for the staff. They have been working very hard.
Helping people move out of poverty and live more healthy and productive lives is not an easy task. But this is what Berendina Sri Lanka set out to achieve. Berendina Development Services identifies the most poor and vulnerable and works directly with them, rather than through community-based societies. This way, BDS reaches out to the poor who are isolated, who live in the margins of the village distance from the road, and who have no time for meetings.
We don't spend too much our time on social mobilization or forming village groups. We focus on the individual family. We basically believe in economic empowerment, and we believe that economic empowerment leads to social empowerment rather than other way about. The way we work, we are not bound by project deadlines, project periods. We can creatively think and create programs which are very long term, which can make an impact on the people, and we can bide our time till that change happens. So that's, I think, is very critical.
This flexibility, the absence of a blueprint approach, has helped stimulate innovation and ensured that Berendina's work remains relevant and useful. Continuing with Mrs. Borst's commitment to helping the most helpless, BDS builds or repairs houses and latrines for families whose breadwinners experience long-term illness, disability, or infirmities related to old age. Households also receive a monthly allowance of 1,000 rupees to help meet basic needs like food and medicines. Selladure was born without the ability to walk, and his mother Valyamma, who is over 80, continues to take care of him. They lived in barely habitable accommodation on very little food until they met officers from BDS.
இப்போ நாங்கள் வந்து அனாரியா 2 பேரும் எங்களுக்கு ஒருத்தர் இல்லைன்னு சொல்லிங்க மடுவத்தில் தான் நாங்கள் ஆக்கி சாப்பிட்டுக்கிட்டு இருந்தோங்க.
நாங்கள் வாழ்க்கையை இப்படி நாங்கள் பரதேவியாக இருந்து அனாதையாக இருந்து இப்படி நாங்கள் அனாதையாக இருந்து இப்படி எங்களுக்கு இந்த எங்களுக்கு சாப்பாட்டு விஷயமும் உடனடியாக மாதம் எங்களுக்கு சாப்பாட்டு விஷயமும் கொடுக்குறார்கள்.
Developing livelihoods has been a vital aspect of Berendina's work. It has directly benefited poor families in both rural and plantation areas. BDS motivates and supports poor families to begin new income-generating activities or to improve existing ones. Families receive assistance for 3 years until their income from the new initiative is at least 3,000 rupees a month. Berendina's assistance could include equipment, assets, livestock, and working capital to the value of up to 40,000 rupees a family, as well as training and support to link with government agencies and markets. Nainaranga, a father of 2, recently laid off from his job as a security guard, experienced additional misfortune when a large tree fell on his small house and destroyed it. BDS recognized the capacity of Nainaranga to start a poultry farm and provided the initial investment and the training to begin it. An abundant supply of water such as this is something unusual here in Thirappane, in Sri Lanka's dry north-central province. Most farmers here struggle to survive because of the lack of a dependable source of water. What's made this possible is Berendina's support to dig a deep well for irrigation and the donation of a water pump.
කපනවා දෙල්ලින්ද කිව්වා මං සර් කිව්වා කපා ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා කපා ගන්න ඒ වගේම එදා කපා ගන්නකොටම බෙරින් ආයතනේ නිලධාරිතුමාලා ආවා එනකොට ඇත්තව හිඟනව කපනකොට වතුර සන්තෝෂයි වතුර ගල නෑ වතුර
දැන් අපි ගිය සැරේ ලුණු කෙරුවා මේ කියන්නේ පෙරදින සංවර්ධන ආයතනේ දීපු අතුදවෙන් ඒකෙන් අපි ගත්තා සෑහෙන මුදලක් ඊට පස්සේ තමයි මොටර් සයිකල් එක ගත්තා
ඒක ගත්තේ මේ දෙන්නා ඉස්කෝලේ දාන්න ඉස්කෝලේ දාන්න මෙතන ඉඳලා මං හිතන්නේ කිලෝමීටර් 1.5කට වැඩියෙන් තියෙනවා එතකොට රැයක අසනීපයක් වුණොත් මේ හරිය කවුරුත් නෑ තිරප්පණේට යන්න ඕනේ බෙහෙත් ටිකක් ගන්න රැයකාරී ඉතින් ඒ අදහස උඩ තමයි ගත්තේ.
Yet another important initiative has been supporting farmer groups in this region to rehabilitate and repair irrigation canals. Over 100 families depended on the Kasamadua tank in Mihinthale for their paddy cultivation. But the canal bund was badly damaged due to an unexpectedly heavy spell of rain, and the farmers were unable to cultivate for 2 seasons. The loss was estimated to be over 2 million rupees a season. 10 seasonal tanks have been included in a new inland fisheries program introduced in Thirappane. Work is carried out with technical support from the National Aquaculture Development Authority. BDS adopts an integrated approach, working with government institutions, development agencies and private companies. Today, about 42,500 families benefit from its many services. This career guidance training session is an activity of the Varakapula Employment Resource Centre, one of many such centres set up by BDS in 3 districts to help unemployed and underemployed youth receive career guidance, vocational training and opportunities for productive employment. Although the government provides vocational training free of charge or at a subsidized rate, a large number of young people coming from very poor families and living in remote areas are not able to attend the courses because they cannot afford the costs of transport and course material. BDS provides financial assistance to selected students so they could follow these courses. Not just that, job fairs are held to link employers and potential employees. BDS has helped over 10,000 young people find employment.
මම ආවේ මේ ප්‍රී ස්කූල් මේ ගුරුවරියක් විදියට එතෙන්ට ගියාට පස්සේ මාව තේරුණා. ඊට පස්සේ ඉතින් ගොඩක් සතුටුයි.
The efforts of ERC to find employment for people who have completed their technical training have been appreciated by employee and employer alike. Employers like Ultra Engineering are often happy to hire competent young people who have disabilities like Varuna, who has a speech problem. Economic realities force many students to look for work, even if they are qualified to do further studies. Janaka Madhushankar found work at this insurance agency, straight from the training course he followed through ERC support. Janaka plans to go further in the field of computer programming. Yet another creative initiative of Berendina has been its invitation to private sector companies to subcontract work to boost employment opportunities. Berendina formed cooperatives of rural women and youth, who then signed contracts with these companies. In 2010, BDS formed a new partnership with SJ, a company manufacturing electronic components. BDS provided an interest-free loan to install the required equipment at the center in Yatiyantota. 20 employees now gain an average monthly income of around 7,000 rupees. Many of them are using their earnings to continue their education. Studies on children's education in Sri Lanka all point to poverty as the main cause of non-schooling, as well as early dropouts and absenteeism in schools. Berendina offers scholarships to poor students who show exceptional ability or keenness, so that they can continue their education without interruption.
මගේ ස්ත්‍රිය දම්මතේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් වෙන්න තාත්තත් කියන වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් වෙන්න කියලා ඉතින් මම තෝරගත්ත මෙඩිසින් පැත්ත. අපේ අම්මට ආරංචිලා තිබ්බා බෙරෙන්ඩිනා කම්පැනියෙන් දුප්පත් ළමයින්ට ඉගෙන ගන්න අතර කරනවා කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ මේ අපි කතා කරලා ඒ කට්ටියන් චිත්තතාවතර ලබා ගත්තා. ඒවා පන්ති ගස්තුව කවර කරගෙන මගේ අධ්‍යයනයට මම හොඳට කරගත්තා.
Berendina's support for children's education extends to students like Upeksha who need special help.
රාජ්‍ය පාලකයන් සම්බන්ධව සඳහන් කිරීමේදී දුටු ගැමුණු රජු වෙනුවෙන් පරිච්ඡේද 11ක්.
It was while she was studying for her A-levels that Upeksha became part of Berendina's student aid program.
දැනට ශ්‍රී ජයවර්ධනපුර විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ මේ ශාස්ත්‍ර පීඨ දෙවෙනි වසරේ මේ ඉගෙන ගන්නවා. සංගීත සිංහල බෞද්ධ ශිෂ්ටාචාරය ඒ විෂයන් තමයි කරන්නේ. ඉන්දියන් එක්සෑම් එකක් කරලා ඉතින් විචාරද මට්ටමටම ගිහිල්ලා ගුරුපත් වීමක් අරගන්න තමයි උත්සාහ කරන්නේ.
BDS also supports a range of children's homes by helping improve their facilities and environment, as well as educational and recreational activities. Here at the Lankadara Home for Children, school education is supplemented in the most stimulating ways. Berendina Sri Lanka is not just committed to the well-being of children, but also to that of elders. Doctors make home visits to treat patients who cannot walk. Visiting the doctor is difficult for the rural poor who experience long-term illnesses because of their inability to travel and because they can't afford the cost of transport and medicine. BDS works closely with the local and medical authorities in both rural and plantation areas in a range of health-related activities. Plantation workers are considered one of the most disadvantaged communities in Sri Lanka. However, in recent decades, plantation companies are finding new ways to improve the living conditions of their workers. Berendina has been a partner in this process for the past 4 years. This celebration marks the opening of a new water supply scheme funded by Berendina. Community projects, mostly involving critical infrastructure work related to water supply, have been an important part of Berendina's work in the plantations. By the end of 2011, BDS had provided pipe-borne water for over 1,900 plantation families, comprising nearly 10,000 people, each house being provided an individual tap. Water consumer groups are formed to monitor construction and manage maintenance, and volunteer a substantial amount of work to build the utilities. Estate management provides the land, tools, a part of the cost, as well as transport for materials.
They get the fullest cooperation from the community. They make them work and do it and gain ownership of that project. So it's not a project which is completed in a very short period within 1 month or so. It's a long-term planning for about 6 months, and the projects get implemented on this long term. And basically when the project is completed, it is owned by the community themselves.
The Palm Foundation is Berendina's main implementing partner in its work in the plantations.
බෙරෙන්න එක දැක්කා පාම් ෆවුන්ඩේෂන් එක ඒගොල්ලන්ට අවශ්‍යතාවය සපුරන විදිහේ වැඩක් කරපු ආයතනයක් කියලා. ඒතර මේකේ විශේෂත්වයක් තිබුණා ගොඩාක්ම උනන්දුවෙක්. මේ ව්‍යාපෘතියට සහභාගී වුණා. අපිට එක සතයක්වත් මේකේ හිතුවත් අපිට සල්ලි දීලා මේ අන්ස්කිල් ලේබර් ගන්න උන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒක මම මේක දගෙන විශේෂත්වයක්.
BDS has also helped improve people's awareness on health and nutrition. In this estate, Berendina's support is centered around this creche and nursery, which has been able to improve its facilities and services, not just for the children, but also for the mothers. The greatest impact of social inequities is felt by children. This is evident among plantation communities with their extremely low educational achievements. BDS started a pilot project to improve the performance of secondary school students in selected schools. Extra classes are conducted on Saturdays by visiting teachers carefully chosen by Berendina in consultation with the schools. The children are also provided midday meals and studying materials.
මගේ බලාපොරොත්තුව මේ ළමයින්ගේ තියෙනවා අනුන්ට අතපාලා ජීවත් වෙන ජීවන රටාවක් මතවාද තියාගෙන ඉන්නවා. ඒවා මිදිලා ළමයි හොඳ ලෝකයක් කරා හොඳ පුරවැසියෙක් වශයෙන් ලංකාවේ ජීවත් වෙන අනෙකුත් සමාජයත් එක්ක සරල යන විදියට ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන් වාතාවරණයක් හදලා දීම තමයි මගේ පරමාර්ථය.